Hello, everyone. This is Michelle at Scrappy Soul Sister, and thank you for joining me for this process video. I am here for my creative scrapbook with their limited edition August kit. And every month, you also receive a cut file. And so this cut file is also available in their online store. And so I used the cut file, the online version, to create three additional cut files as well as four backings for that cut file. Because my idea is to do some watercolors behind each little floral and leaf cluster. And so that's what you see me doing here. So I get everything lined up so they're all facing the same direction, as is the outline over to the left, so I can kind of see which are leaves, which are flowers, what ends where. But it's going to be, uh, covered with the white, and so the actual borders don't matter all that much. But I want to try to be as accurate as I can. So the colors I'm using for the green are both shimmers. One is Green Acres. The other is Emerald City. I am not um, by any means a watercolor expert, but I'm just laying down color. I'm not worried about doing anything tricky. It's just getting color down, and this is a good way to use a cut file that has a lot of smaller, more intricate pieces. If you don't feel like cutting all of that out in order to get different colors behind those shapes. So I use a couple different pinks. One is a creamy strawberry fields, and then the other one is a magical by Lindy's Game, and that one is the autumn maple crimson. And then I had a magical for the yellow, which is the summer love and sun, and then I used Sky's the Limit preemies, and then a magical called Teapot Purple. So I get all of those colored in and I glued them down off camera. And this is kind of what my thought is for this layout. I've cut out a large circle from the center of that gingham, and um, I did grab a wood grain paper from my stash, because I didn't want to pull something from the kit just for a little tiny border, but I did want a border between the background paper and that gingham. I am uh, using, I believe it is let me pull it, I believe it's Hickory Smoke. Yeah. For my inking for this layout. And then I'm going to use foam tape behind that uh, gingham in order to lift it just a little bit so I can tuck some things between that wood grain and my main paper there. Now, the paper I've chosen to go on the back of the circle is from the kit. It is that lovely white brick. I believe that is the memory place. There's a couple of memory place papers, and I believe that is one of them. And then I am taking a couple of chunks from, there's a paper that has a lot of different journaling pieces and a lot of ephemera. And so I cut out a piece from that, as well as this pink was a 4x6 that was on one of the pattern papers. So I'm using that to back my photo, and then I'm going to tuck my photo behind uh, um, and underneath those floral bits. Okay, so mixed media time, and I'm just going to add, I just want something subtle, and so I'm just going with white modeling paste. Now, I haven't used this modeling paste before. I really like how it goes on. It's just golden. Um, and so, um, but I should have tested it before because it does dry a little bit. It's not a very pure white. It dries a little bit grayer than I would like. And so, but I didn't know that at that point, and so I dried it, and I'm going to glue some stuff down. And I really love how those floral clusters came out. And so I'm going to lift the one so I can still tuck some stuff underneath it and try to figure out, okay, how is that going to look without covering our faces? And yeah, so um, I wanted to add just a little bit of foam tape behind some of the leaves as well. So those had some shadow underneath them. And I'm happy with how those came out. Um, and but what I'm not happy with is how those flowers faded a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and add some white paint to my modeling paste, and then I go over them again with that. Some I do good at lining up, some but it just makes my 8-leaf flowers look like 16-leaf flowers, so I'm okay. So I just move on. Added some white splatters, and now I want to add a little bit of um, stamping with that. It's just a little tiny heart stamp. And then, of course, my modeling paste wasn't quite dry, and so I messed it up above my flowers there to the right. But I shake that off as well, and I'm just moving forward. So I get my heart stamps where I want them, and I think that I am um, done with that. And so my camera was is like sliding a little bit, and so I do get it tightened up, but I think that might happen a few times in this layout. So I apologize. I should have just stopped it and fixed it once, and but I think I messed with it a few times. So now I'm taking a look. There's some great little word strips in this collection. And so I go with Life is Lovely up at the top left. And I am thinking about what I want to do for my titles. I take a look at that beautiful. It just felt like a little big. So I am going to go with that hello word, but I'm still kind of pondering what the location is actually going to be. I'm going to audition some butterflies, and I am going to go with butterflies on this layout, but I think the position of those particular layouts or butterflies is going to change a little bit. And yeah, so this hello and the beautiful, they just have like a really beautiful word script behind them. So I do want to use it, and I don't use it there. Sometimes it's um, you have to looking at it after you have recorded your process. You're sometimes you're like, oh yeah, that was the right decision, and sometimes you're like, oh, it probably was fine. So sometimes a different perspective or stepping away and coming back can be really helpful in making your decisions. But thankfully, I haven't adhered it up to that top right yet because I don't like it there. So yeah, so that is good. It's going to move down there, and that works for me a little bit better. And then I'm going to add my journaling above it, tucked behind the photo cluster there. I wanted to add just a couple of um, tabs, and so the die cut that I used to cut out my journaling tag there also had a couple tabs, so I could go ahead and cut out a few out of the yellow gingham. I end up, I think, just leaving one of them. And then I am going to do my journaling. And so this picture is of the Painted Ladies. This is from our trip to San Francisco last September. And we really love San Francisco. It is just a beautiful city. And so we took the bus tour and got off at the Painted Ladies stop because we, needed a picture of that. And so just adorable little houses. And so I think that I'm happy with how things are laying out so far. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere them. And then I'm going to take a look at the different florals that come in the kit. These are all 49 in market, and figure out how I want to add those into my layout. So I have figured out my butterflies, and so the ones that you see there are the ones that I go forward with. I do like that little yellow ephemera piece on the with the yellow flowers on my journaling tag because I felt like if I'm going to add these yellow flowers, I needed a little bit more elsewhere as well. And so I have added a lot of the yellow and a few of the pink. I am going to use some white pearl strips on my butterflies. And yeah, I do go ahead and take a look at um, adding some hearts into my clusters. And I think, oh yeah, I add that purple behind those purple flowers behind the hello as well. And I think that that little cluster is just about done, other than I add the life is lovely under the hello little strip, because I guess I really believe life is lovely because I used it at the top left and then I added to the title cluster as well. So, and sometimes that kind of bothers me that I've used too much repetition, and other times I'm like, nobody's going to notice until I point it out, which I just did to you all. So, I cut off the overhang of the cut file, and I just add those pieces back in to kind of extend that. Bottom right cluster. And there I've just added my pearls. And I think that is the last I do with this layout. I don't think I do any more splatters. So thank you for joining me. Check out this limited edition August My Creative Scrapbook kit because it is a beauty, and I think that you will love it. And I will see you on my next video. Here are some close-ups, and have a great day.